Hey guys, welcome to Arcane Assist. This week it's myself and Tim. I'm playing MENOTH, and he's playing some KHADOR after some discussions were had on both our Facebook page and the KHADOR Facebook page.
Yeah, we got into some interesting chats about KHADOR this week, and it turned into me writing something of a small essay on why I think KHADOR is good right now. And I feel like you probably can't write something like that and then not show up and play some KHADOR. So this is my effort to present some of what I suggested is probably good. Now, I talked a little bit about how I feel like KHADOR has 4 major archetypes, and if we've got time in the schedule, I think we'll try to feature all 4 of those archetypes over the next month or so.
Sounds good. My list is something I've been meaning to feature on the channel for a while now. It is Reznik2 in the Faithful Masses. And this list is a little bit of what I like to call Reznik's Great Crusade.
Yep.
It is Reznik with 4 Crusaders.
Oh, it's a pun.
A Hierophant.
Oh, lovely.
Yes. We do puns here sometimes.
Oh, we do puns all the time.
Scourge of Heresy because he needs it. A Devout. 2 Vassals. 2 Racks. A Vassal Mechanic. Double Min Choir. And then some Adrians with UA because Reznik really loves those for his feet turn.
Yeah. My list, as I alluded to already, is one of the 4 major archetypes of what I think is strong in KHADOR right now. Specifically, this one's Legion of Steel. I'm playing the Old Witch 2, which is a little bit of an interesting choice for Legion of Steel. But as I said, as long as you're playing to one of those 4 archetypes, I feel like there's a lot of flex you can get out of changing caster or tinkering with the list. I'm playing Reinholdt with her as my mercenary choice. Battlegroup consists of Kodiak and 2 Marauders. And then I have a gorgeously painted Captain Sofya Skirova. And she is just maybe one of my favorite releases for this theme force. She's absolutely fantastic. An Iron Fang Kovnik. An Uhlan Kovnik Markov, a minimum unit of battle mechanics, a maximum unit of Iron Fang Pikemen with their unit attachment, and 2 max units of Iron Fang Uhlans. Obviously, this is a bit more of a cav-centric list, designed to leverage the strength of Curse of Shadows. It's also worth noting that most of the models featured in this list many of the models featured in this list are on loan to us from our local terrain builder and KHADOR player extraordinaire, Ian. He was generous enough to offer us some of his painted pieces because much of the KHADOR collection that I'd want to feature in this particular battle report is currently unpainted on our painting table or in various states of relative assembly. So this lets us play some really gorgeously painted stuff, so thank you very much for that, Ian.
All right, and with that, I think we're just about ready to head into the game.
Yeah. Quick note, we decided we would like to feature deployment again. This is a bit of a change. We've been recording and playing videos for almost a year now with deployment happening off the clock. This is now deployment on the clock and featured on the video based on some feedback. If you like it better, let us know. If you hate it, let us know. It's an experiment.
So, I won the die roll and got first turn. I'm going to try to place my wall for Faithful Masses theme. There's not really any good spot to put it, so I
ends up going next to the clock.
I put it next to the clock.
Yeah, sometimes you don't get the side that has the better wall. I actually kind of gave you the side that railroaded you and not having a nice wall placement.
Yeah. I chose to go first because I felt like had I chosen to go second and picked the side, I would have gotten the rubble and the nice kind of cover from the 2 forests. However, I would have moved up, or Tim would have moved up pretty aggressively for turn 1, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would have moved up, and then I would have gotten charged on top of 2, which I don't feel is a very good position to be in against a list that really leverages threat ranges.
Yeah, especially in this scenario, those Uhlans can be like 16 inches up, covering most of the table and ready to get boundless charged into your face. That's not ideal.
Yep. So here I'm deploying with basically Jack choir member, as you typically do with MENOTH. And in this list, it's kind of weird because I have to kind of divide my force up a little bit. So I have 3 heavy warjacks in the bottom and 2 going up top. And the reason that is just Reznik is such a huge base that he kind of divides my deployment zone into 2 spaces. So I don't have much of a choice in terms of that. And MENOTH jacks aren't that mobile.
Yeah, I feel like MENOTH really rewards players for positioning well and really, really punishes you if you're not thinking that 2 or 3 turns in advance. They are, more than any other faction in the game, I think they reward fundamentals. So you can see that Old Witch 2, gorgeously painted and recently rediscovered. I swear to God, I'm not a superstitious person, and I don't like to suggest that things happen by magic. I tend to be very analytical. I prefer to be quite logical in my assessments, but warcasters have magic powers that prevent them from being recorded on our channel. First, the Caliban curse. I hesitate to even say his name out loud in a recording. But then, literally Old Witch, we were at a tournament the other day, and I was like, one day she'll just appear magically. And then she was literally there. In a cabinet 25 feet away. And we were like, that's her. How did she get there? That's not even... We looked to there. She wasn't there. It was uncanny.
Right.
I put some horses down. Some jacks. Derp charge.
You're a jerk.
Now, KHADOR is a nuanced and rather delicate faction to play, and there's a lot of moving parts in them, but it does sometimes feel like you can make alpha strikes just kind of happen, and you can be forgiven for positioning errors in a way that you can't in something like MENOTH. This list has a lot of mobility and a lot of flexibility, and I hope to make a couple of mistakes that I can kind of point out and talk about, but I do think KHADOR is very, very well positioned right now. And something like Legion of Steel has the capacity to just leverage a lot of powerful armor cracking and some very, very self-sufficient pieces. Those are the lances from the horses, gorgeously magnetized and really obnoxious to use. We will be using some of them.
Uh-huh.
Mostly not, because they're a real pain.
I'm deploying my Adrians towards the bottom zone. Probably going to pray a unit of Uhlans and use them as kind of a jamming unit to protect my Warjacks, because also in Faithful Masses, I get Hand of Vengeance on my heavy Warjacks, so I'm going to be making as much use of that as possible.
Yeah, it's really strong. Really bumps the Crusader up to 11. In some cases, literally about 11. Is it base 6 or base 7?
So it's base 6. Yeah, it's base 6. In this list, it goes to 8 with Hand of Vengeance, and then 10 with Curse from Reznik2.
Man, Predictor really lost out. They didn't get a Mat 7 10-point heavy?
Nope.
They sure didn't. Yeah. I mean, it's base POW 18. It's got fire on its weapon and stuff. Crusader's not a bad piece. It's just, it's not the Marauder. It's not even the Slayer. Slayer's pretty garbage. It's better than the Slayer. So this is the advanced move on a small base unit of Iron Fangs. Moving up onto that hillock of sorts.
Yeah. So here I go, moving my Adrians as a jamming piece. The goal of this turn is to kind of jockey for position, make sure I'm not just wandering into Uhlan threat ranges, prevent them from getting as far as up as they might like to be, threaten them with guns, the works.
Yeah. I really don't want to lose Uhlans to guns. That'd be super bad. They've got a little bit of durability in that by being base to base with each other, they can get plus 2 armor. But that plus 2 armor really only helps them against relatively low POW shooting. Once they close into melee, I find that armor often doesn't keep them alive. And it really dictates their positioning quite a bit. Tactician helps, but if you don't have Tactician, being base to base with the unit that wants to fan out and charge can be really, really bad.
Yep. So here I am moving up my stuff. I'm debating on whether or not I want to boundless charge a jack or two, just because it gets them an extra inch of movement, and in the top zone, I kind of want that.
Yeah, especially, I mean, the challenge would then be, do you balance charge into the rough terrain and then dictate that you have to balance charge the following turn, or do you balance charge try to get into a kind of a clear spot?
Yeah. So I put up Lamentation, I put Death March onto one unit, and I boundless charge the topmost Crusader. And I debate whether or not I want to go forward all that much. But I decided to move up a little bit more with my reposition, just because I'm not entirely threatened by Tim's list at this point. Although the Old Witch she's got a huge threat range. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, she can boundless charge herself, charge 11 inches, and then range amplify Curse of Shadows and or Scourge or whatever else she wants to put out, and throw a Scourge 13 inches or a Curse of Shadows 13 inches, and then also shoot her gun 12 inches. So It's like 23, 24 inches. It's pretty decent.
Yeah. I make a bit of a mistake here in that I move the choir up in such a way that it blocks Scourge of Heresy from running his full distance. But that's okay. I'm going to use him as kind of a reserve piece anyway. Use him to trade up to a bunch of Uhlans, maybe even a Marauder. And with Reznik's bond ability, if he ever gets to kill anything, then Scourge is going to get to move up and use some advanced threat anyway.
Yeah, that kind of pseudo overtake ability is a really neat bond especially for a speed 4 jag.
So that's my turn.
Like Strakov? I don't know. Is that not uncomparable? Okay.
Yeah.
Some jacks power up, and we're gonna try to kill some of these Idrians. Just because why not? Idrians gotta die. This is. We're going to derp first, and then we're going to charge. That's the explanation of the whole turn. I joke a little bit. I mean, Bubba sometimes, and he's a great friend of mine and a world-class player, talks about KHADOR as just, charge, roll crit knockdowns, do a bunch of damage to the 5, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't worry about it. But there's a lot more going on here. Just sometimes it has that appearance of being a very, very straightforward game. The Old Witch moves up. She put Reconstruct up on... the Marauder, and she put Windstorm up as well. And Boundless charged 2 of the Iron Fangs. Because of just line of sight issues, it has to be the back 2 Iron Fangs, but that's fine because Tactician from Markov is going to allow them to charge through each other. She chose the -1 cost on spells, if anyone at home is doing the math. I'm hoping that I can limit kind of just what the Idrians can actually shoot, especially the Prayed Uhlans, who I really want to keep alive. The Iron Fangs here are kind of my jamming piece, my sort of mid-range tar pit that I'm setting up early, and they're mini-feeding this turn. So they're going to get reposition 5 for the folks who charge, and the folks that run here are going to end in shield wall. So everybody's going to end up in shield wall. I'm going to dig as deeply as I can, try to position really aggressively with them.
Yep.
Just trying to engage a bunch of Idrians. Prevent some of those shots from being made.
Yeah. And the mini feat really helps you here. Because you're going to get to run and be in shield wall with a bunch of guys, as well as repo even deeper with the guys that succeed the charge.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I like Black Dragons quite a bit. I think Black Dragons are really, really powerful. And for a couple more points, they're usually the best choice. In this case, I'm playing regular Iron Fang Pikemen because they're a slightly more budget option in the list, and they give me access to tools like this reposition, this really, really deep digging jam. So they make an ideal small-based advanced move unit, which is exactly what they're doing here. And because KHADOR has just absurdly large command ranges, I'm keeping them all in formation in kind of 2 large clusters, which is great. I mean, with that officer who's base command 8 and the banner, which gives him +2 inches of command range, like 10 inches away, A-okay. Unit of Uhlans is activating. They don't have Pathfinder base. They have Relentless Charge. So they're running into this rubble. Just cost them a little extra movement to get there. And I'm just positioning them such that I can have most of them be base to base with as many other members of the unit as possible and have all of them completely in that rubble. Because, as I mentioned before, I really don't want to lose Uhlans to guns. There are a lot of the armor cracking in this list, and though Old Witch does have the damage multiplier of Curse of Shadows, it's more difficult to apply against MENOTH than one would give it credit for. The Devout makes it hard to use against Reznik, and his jacks can have shielding, so I really do need to look at them as the real armor cracking capacity that the list has. Skirova runs up, bases the flag, puts herself in veteran leader range, and possibly proc a counter charge. I run the Uhlans to the very, very outside edge of this zone, try to threaten the whole zone, kind of pressure Evan to put something in there that they can take out. Kodiak does the same thing. It stands in the woods slightly, making use of its own Pathfinder. And then the Iron Fang Kovnik moves up, applies his no sleeping on the job aura to all of those Iron Fangs, including Skirova. So if she gets knocked down by her like getting killed and being knocked down instead, she stays standing, which allows her to still have use of things like her own counter charge and a Righteous Vengeance move if something else dies in her command.
So here I immediately see there's two big blobs of dudes, which is just what Reznik loves to see. Although on my vengeance move, the Skirova causes some problems for me. She countercharges at an Idrian, which means she's in just the perfect spot to be blocking line of sight through the forest to the back line for my guns.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also potentially killing an Idrian, except she misses.
Yeah, Mat 8 ain't going to do.
But these two big blobs of Iron Fangs are perfect for my feet. And I'm seeing some opportunities that allow me to kill a guy in the back and then explode, and then that will be in the back arc of the front line, and then they just auto die. I don't even have to roll because it's POW 14.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that gets around the shield wall nicely. So you're talking about this as a feat turn?
Yes, for sure. So those were all my vengeance moves. I think I only killed one dude. It's fine. They were probably going to die anyway.
Death March actually helped you a couple times there because it means that instead of needing 6 to hit, you need 4 to hit.
Yes.
So
yes, the plus 2 mat is a huge deal. So now the other thing is thinking out the rest of the turn. I debate where I want to put Scourge with the advanced move because I'm definitely going to proc the not the advanced move, the pseudo overtake, the bond.
Yeah.
Basically, because I'm definitely going to get that. I'm going to proc the first explosion with Reznik onto that first group of Iron Fangs that's just next to my flag, because they're in charge range, and I can basically be super safe just by repoing back a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. And we're definitely going to kill one, being a POW 14 Weapon Master on the charge. And then it's only 5s to kill the guys in shield wall.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad. And then that frees up the bottom half of the unit of Idrians to go maybe pop 1 or 2 of the Iron Fangs up top, which clears out that blob.
Yeah, Evan definitely gets more infantry clearing work out of his feet than I'd given him credit for. Here we see Reznik charge and Weapon Master kill that guy, and then roll a whole bunch of damage rolls on these guys in shield wall, which just handily removes them. They're in range for Skirova to get Righteous Vengeance, but we shall see what value she gets out of that in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's Righteous Vengeance is if somebody dies within 5 inches of her. She does have to still be standing, and she has that rule where if you kill her, she stays alive until the next maintenance phase. So she has to still be alive in that maintenance phase to benefit from it.
Yes. So here I just go for a Flesh is Weak. Try to scatter it onto those Uhlans, because if that happens, they can't run or charge, which means I don't immediately die if I put something in the zone. It scatters the wrong way, and I don't quite get that, which is a little unfortunate. But it happens. Can't get everything, so we just repo back and be safe. It's range 10 there just because of the Hierophant, which is nice, and it only costs 2 as opposed to 3 because of Harmonious Exaltation, also from the Hierophant.
That Hierophant doing a ton of work in this list.
Now the Idrians are going to go. For the most part, they're going to be in Windstorm, so they're only going to be range 5 on their military rifles, trying to draw a line of sight to the leader model in the back. I think only one of them is going to get the line of sight just because of Skirova being in the way.
Yep. Now, I kind of don't figure out what Evan's doing here right away. I'm looking for countercharge vectors. I'm just thinking about other things. And it's not immediately obvious to me the point of that ranged attack he's about to make in the back line of this unit of Iron Fangs. So... we measure a couple of things, including the range on Windstorm, determine that the chieftain's out, and I'm like, okay, he's going to take some shots. What are the odds that they kill some things, right?
Well, these are the melee stabs. I figure I might as well take them, see if one of them kills an Iron Fang and clears some out, and then the other one can take a rifle shot, maybe. It doesn't happen. But this last guy is going to take a rifle shot at the Iron Fang in the back. Maybe he'll get something out of it. Nails him.
So he hits. I debate shield guarding to Skirova. Skirova's only armor 18, and I think he's POW dice -7. So he could do damage to her. she's only armed 17, dice minus 6. He could do damage to her. This guy needs to roll a 8 on, which he does, and then immediately I realize why that's so important, because, of course, the feat triggers, he explodes, and he kills a whole bunch of the Iron Fangs in this cluster here. So that's definitely a mistake for me. If Skirova had taken the hit with Shield Guard anyway, she wouldn't have been destroyed, which means she wouldn't have procced that big explosion there. She would have been on possibly 0 boxes, but then it would have been to Evan to kill any Iron Fangs and have her be standing up and ready for action.
Mm-hmm.
As it stands, she takes the POW 14 and goes down to 0 boxes.
Yep. So, I rolled like an 11 or something on the blast damage there. But now we're just rolling for boxcars on the last 2 Iron Fangs, hoping to kill something, because I don't think shooting at the rubble Uhlans is going to be very useful to me.
Yeah, you're shooting at the Iron Fangs engaged in melee. You're re-randomizing. It's possible it could hit Skirova. It's possible it could hit one of your own guys. It's possible it could hit the Iron Fangs in that melee. So it's kind of a mess. We'll quickly summarize it for you. You fire 4 shots. They all miss. They all miss the redirected shots.
Yep. And, well, I guess the leader takes a pot shot at the Uhlans, also missing.
Yep. Covers saving them here.
So now I look at my options, because I have to give something to Uhlans, but
first of all,
I have some tools.
Let's give credit for the fact that you killed an incredible amount of pieces there.
Yeah, the feat did work.
My entire jamming unit, a little bit perhaps misplayed by me, and certainly the shield guard would have been a strong rebuttal to your feat, but even those mistakes accounted for, I think you did a lot of work this turn.
Yeah. So now I'm looking on to what I can do to mitigate the damage I'm about to take. So I enliven this Crusader and run it forward.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Uhlans have crit knockdown on both of their weapons, but I'm hoping the Idrians in the way are going to help me a little bit with that. The front line can't impact attack me because I'm within 3 inches and they have to move at least 3 inches to get the impact attack.
Mm-hmm.
The Marauder can come up and slam me, but I'm going to try to move the book up so that if I move back, I'm at least not knocked down, and then I can still make the advance.
Yeah. So, couple little positioning things here that I thought were pretty effective. You moved Scourge up again, keeping it as that late game piece. Moved the book up, did no knockdown. Again, I think the hope here is that if I slam that Crusader back, it'll be into the book's aura, because the 5 inches you're probably a little bit out of with the Crusader right now.
Mm-hmm. I've also done no spells with my choir, or shielding, as it were, so that there's no Curse of Shadows or Scourges coming out at me.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. A lot of the tech the Witch will bring to a matchup like this, where there's a whole bunch of opposing heavies, is she'll just kind of Scourge a couple to sort of make defense irrelevant. Pick one off one at a time, or Scourge one and blind it and be like, do you want to, or she won't blind the heavy, pardon me. Against an army that has living heavies, she'll Scourge one and blind it and be like, do you want to spend 2 to shake? And then not really have those resources available to you.
Yeah. Up top, I do the same thing, shielding enliven and move the Jack into the zone. Basically just hoping that Uhlans don't crit knock me down, because otherwise I'm giving up the zone for free.
Uhlan crit knockdowns, they're a thing to pray for, a thing to hope for. A beauty unto themselves.
Let's not make this weird.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. I'm excited to send horses charging in. I was not happy to lose the pieces that I lost this turn, but I think we can still make a game of it. So, I debate feeding here, and I decide I probably am not getting a lot out of the feat. There's a few things that I could do, like get rerolls on some of the jacks, but mostly I think it's going to be Witch controls a whole bunch of pieces, and then my army goes in and does their armor cracking work. So, she opts for discounted cost. She puts Boundless Charge for free onto the Marauder here. And then she shoots her gun. After confirming a range, she shoots the Idrian, the back middle here. She hits him. and the AoE 4 on the cloud effect that I place clips and blinds a couple of the other Idrians. And now my Curse of Shadows is pretty easy to hit with. So we target the leading Idrian who got clipped by that with Curse of Shadows. That applies the Curse of Shadows effect to the entire unit of Idrians. And I'm about to get to show off why I think Cav are really amazing with the Old Witch. Because this is basically why you play this list. So Markov is going to go next. He's going to do his thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely setting up for him to take out 2 of the Idrians.
Although you do this. So you boundless charge this Marauder, so it goes further than I thought it would, allowing it to get an angle that it slams me in no way towards the book.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty clever. It does its combo smite. It slams. I don't slam it into the other Jack or something amazing that would have knocked them both down, but I sure do slam it into the Curse of Shadowed Chieftain. So he's armor 10, takes a power 12 collateral and just dies. And then I do a big chunk of damage to that Crusader.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too bad that I slammed him 2 inches instead of 1, so I can have bought an attack with the Marauder, but they can't all be winners.
And now Markov goes and does his thing with the Warhead.
So Markov comes in. He impact attacks, kills the Idrian with his impact attack, resolves an attack with the Warhead, hits, drops a POW 10, blows up the other Idrian, and repositions back onto the flag like a bro. Markov kills 3 infantry models and scores a flag.
Triggers a lot of Hand of Vengeances.
Yeah, all the Hand of Vengeances. This turn, the plan is just every Hand of Vengeance. So, this is cute. The back member of the... Remember how Evan talked about positioning his Idrians such that they couldn't get those impacts? Well, with Tactician, I move through my own cav. I impact him. I need a 7 to hit, but even if I miss the 6, Curse of Shadows allows me to move through my own model, or move through enemy models. So I'm still able to move through them even if it fails. Here I take this super greedy impact that resolves in my favor because I know I've got enough distance to get through both of those models and land on the other side charging that Crusader. So I'm able to make some really, really exaggerated impact attacks where I'm I'm just going to get everything that I can and nothing's going to stop my charges because those impossible charge vectors that normally you'd be contacting models or stopping because of, Curse of Shadows lets you move through just effortlessly. So this entire unit of Uhlans unpacks gracefully into a bunch of Crusaders, and it is about to do a bunch of damage to Crusaders.
Yep.
Everything is Hand of Vengeance. It's just fucking fine.
Yeah. That's fine. Because this knockdown Crusader that was going to be fine because of Enliven is no longer fine.
Things
not
are
even
okay.
a little bit. He died horribly.
Yep. He took 4 Uhlans to the face, and it didn't end pretty for him. The gentleman over there...
He did a bunch of damage.
Took a bunch of damage.
And the red one in the middle here is just going to have a bunch of Uhlans repo into his face.
Yeah, they repo so they're base to base. They clog up that amount of space there. I find sometimes double stacking them like this is really powerful because the kind of things you have to put up front to kill them means that the second row of them is a little bit harder to kill. So that's what I'm going for, just a mountain of meat. And a Marauder here comes in for the second wave. And this unit of Mechaniks runs up. I debate not putting one in the zone, but eventually decide that this is the unit that's probably going to score the zone this turn. So they're going to be kind of important. This unit of Uhlans charge.
So here I'm basically just praying that Tim doesn't get the crit knockdown on the first attack, because that means I get to walk away for free, and then he gets dub 6's crit knockdown, and this Crusader is gonna have a bad day.
Yep, this Crusader is gonna have a very bad day.
Yeah.
The crit knockdown, the prevalence of knockdown available in this list is just amazing. These guys are doing okay damage, but more importantly, they've completely neutralized the heavy. And they can reposition back. They can be that second wave threat in the zone that I really, really want them to be by repositioning.
Which is incredibly important, because if these things get bogged down, they're just worthless.
Don't get to use their POW 16 attacks with the crit knockdown on the lance pikes, whatever they're called. Blasting pikes, I think.
Yeah.
And they don't get to make use of their powerful impact abilities. Instead, they're stuck making
They can
a
make-
POW 10 and a POW 12.
Yep. They can make a pommel spike attack
Yeah, that's
and a horse kick.
the horse kick's actually better than the pommel spike in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So the Manowar Kovnik charged up, unjammed.
Manowar?
Or pardon me, the Iron Fang Kovnik charged up, unjammed the 2 Iron Fangs. 2 Iron Fangs moved in, and they put a bunch of precision strike damage into that Crusader. And at this point, I think they've taken out his left arm.
Yeah, he's a little short to be a man of war.
You put him in a steam suit, maybe he'll. I don't know. Iron Fangs are scary in their own right. I think it's more that he doesn't want to be boiled alive by like steam.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
That seems reasonable, honestly.
it works
So
better
now-
for you if you're an ice sorceress. I think is the vibe we're going for.
Immune cold, not immune fire.
Well, we'll see.
So bad stuff happened last turn for me. I lost 2 jacks that I didn't want to lose. And now we have to play with fewer Crusaders than we'd like. So we're going to do that.
No problem. You just have to kill some horses.
Yeah. Just got to kill some horses. After you scored 3.
Oh, yeah. That's the other part of that turn we didn't mention. Markov scored the flag. I scored both zones. Scored a 3.
So
Pressure's on, Evan.
it is. Now I have to figure out what to do, because I have to do something about the top zone. I have to do something about both jacks and the unit of Uhlans in the bottom zone. And I have to put something on that flag. How do we do that? Well, Reznik's going to go and poke a guy again, free up the Crusader. And then I think the Devout's going to go and kill another Iron Fang. And then the Crusader's going to go up top. The Red Crusader's going to bop whack-a-mole a bunch of Uhlans in the middle. And then Scourge is going to go and kill the Reconstruct Heavy and also some Uhlans, I guess, because those are his targets. We got to get through this wall of horses.
That's a lot of horses.
It's a lot of horses. And it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Reznik himself can come in and do a fair bit of work.
The issue is he has to also allocate a bunch of focus this turn.
It seems kind of like a you problem.
It is. It is a me problem. He allocates basically 1 to Scourge, 1 to the Crusader in the middle, and 1 to the Crusader up top. And then I can have the vassal from either end of the table give Scourge and a Crusader each a focus. And then those are both full up. Hopefully that Crusader kills a Kodiak. Hopefully Scourge does the job he's supposed to do. We'll contest both zones. And we'll be good. We'll be good. Question is, what's the order we do that in? So we're past our allocation. We upkept Lamentation because it really forces the witch to play back.
She's playing quite a bit further back than I really like her to be. I know it's a little sassy of me to say, but I just like to point out the relevance of the wall theme benefit.
Yep.
I mean, like,
What?
it's really restricting my line of play here. Fencing in the clock like that.
Just him and the scoreboard
Yep. It's just
working together.
Just
Keep
lock
that
it
clock
on.
right out of the game.
this is one of the Muse score counters. I'm not sure how well it shows up in the video. I think we probably are going to eventually do a digital overlay for scorekeeping. But in the course of actually playing a game, it's really hard to forget because it has enough size that you don't just like miss it, and it's pretty easy to use.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest problem for the longest time.
Yeah.
Which was
Like he's-
forgetting to count the turns.
Well, and like Mike Ireland and I were playing a game at Nova, and he had like a cup that he would toss like a token into each turn. It was very tangible, and like it wouldn't like tip or knock over like a die would. And we also just forgot to put the token in it. Like you forget unless it's right there, being really obvious and demanding that you see it, which is what the scorekeeper that the Muse folks have designed is kind of all about.
So Choir went, battled everything. Devout went, stabbed a dude, staying out of countercharge range of that Kovnik.
Oh, that Kovnik is so ready to precision strike off an arm.
Vassal went, gave a focus. Reznik goes, charges, kills a dude. Hopefully.
Well, POW 14 Weapon Master, here's hoping.
He hits.
Yep.
He does it. Scourge goes up. He curses the Uhlan unit.
Yeah, Reznik curses the Uhlan unit. and pulls from a rack, which blows up the rack. And he buys an attack at this point on one of the Uhlans.
Yep, buy an attack on Uhlan.
Hits because he's at 9 with the curse.
Yeah.
So that just hits. And then he aces him.
Aces him because we forgot to mention the guide who had Vengeance from last turn did 3 damage to an Uhlan.
Yep, left him on 2 boxes.
And I repo back, just trying to be safe a little bit.
You considered, I think at one point, basing the flag, but realized then probably you need a countercharge from the
I get
Kovnik?
countercharge from the Kovnik, and then I have to find a way of clearing out that. And I'm not sure I have enough pieces to do that at the moment.
Yeah, I think my plan was if you moved up Reznik onto the flag, I would countercharge Reznik, but fail the charge and stop right in front of the Crusader.
Yep.
And I think that maybe is a problem for you.
Yep. So the guide charges the Kovnik, and then you countercharge him with Kovnik Markov, because he also has countercharge.
And Markov had just enough room to get to the other side of the flag, continue to base it, and have 2-inch melee to the guide.
So the guide died.
Correct. He got warheaded.
And
in
the
face.
Kovnik is still a problem.
Yep. Warhead is optional, so I choose not to resolve a POW 10 against the Iron Fang Kovnik.
I also boundless charge this Crusader, so he's going to be able to actually get to the Kodiak as well as an Uhlan. He's currently missing, because of that Uhlan charge last turn, his fist, which is kind of balls. But, it happens. I'm trying to debate on where this mechanic can actually go. Maybe run him into the zone just to contest. That solves that problem. Makes another thing that Tim has to deal with next turn. He's speed 5, not 6.
Tied up in chains. They are speed 5 in MENOTH, because they don't trust their magic users.
Seems reasonable.
Unless they're priestly magic users.
Seems reasonable.
Oh. Huh. We trust our magic users. We let them eat people and rule all of the world. Old Witch. She's the best.
I feel like you're talking about the Grimkin side of Old Witch here.
Same side, my friend. Same character.
Anywho.
She definitely... She stopped eating people when it was more interesting to manipulate them.
That's comforting. Scourge of Heresy walks up and does a Thresher attack. He hits 2 Uhlans in the jack. Now, I mix up what weapon I'm using here and realize that the flail is 1 less POW or 2 less POW than I thought it was. And it makes one of the horses survive.
Yeah, you almost necessarily one-shot them, but you rolled really low on one of them. And
Exactly.
we go back to do the math and realize he should actually be alive, so we replace that horse.
And then I decided to just buy a bunch of swords into the Reconstruct Marauder.
Reconstruct's an upkeep spell, so Purgation applies. You do just truckloads of damage to it.
Yep. Truck it a couple times. I leave it on 1 box, and I have 1 focus left. But I decide to stab the Uhlan instead, because if it dies to fire, which it got from the Thresher attack, then Reconstruct doesn't proc.
And if it doesn't die to fire, it has 1 box in right arm.
And no mechanics that can get to it.
Yeah, it could back off and be repaired by the mechanics, but they are not within 5 inches of it right now, so we won't be able to really have a very, very relevant turn this round. So I think that's actually the right line of play. I find a lot of players get tunnel visioned on killing a jack or finishing a jack, and just completely crippling something can often be just as effective.
This Crusader moves up, goes to murder 2 Uhlans. Being Mat 10 against them is all right. Also POW strength 22 because of Hand of Vengeance as well as Battle. It dies. The other one also dies. Once I buy an attack.
You hit it with the fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't kill it with the fist, and you buy an attack and kill it with the club. So that went basically how you'd hoped it would, right?
In the bottom zone. Yeah.
Scourge did impressively. The Crusader topped a whole bunch of stuff off. Going to POW strength 22. For a 10-point jack, that's incredible.
In the top zone, we charge the Uhlan.
Showcasing the other incredible feature of this this list is that is a speed 6 Pathfinder jack because of boundless charge.
Yep. Unfortunately, the fist is crippled, and I wanted to use that as the charge attack, but it's not reliable enough to just use that on the Uhlan. So I swing at the KHADOR jack, miss, and I start going at it with the mace. I hit. Dice plus 2 does 5 to the 3.
A little bit of an underwhelming die roll.
10 to the 2 on the second attack, and then third
up for it.
attack does 9 to the 1.
Basically an average set of swings. Would have been nice to have that extra fist because it probably would have killed the Uhlan, as you say.
Exactly.
But you've done a ton of work to that Kodiak. I think it's down to what? Right arm and cortex?
Yeah, not a huge amount. I run the mechanic. At this point, I realize that I have nothing that I can run to contest the flag. Tim scores to 4, and then he can end his turn immediately to go to 5 and win, because that is a difference of 5 points. I just didn't have anything. Like, I guess I could have taken some free strike with the Crusader to get there and potentially risk the crit knockdown from a horse.
Yeah.
And then probably dies next turn to Markov anyway, and you score 2 zones. But it was a really, really high-pressure scenario game that you brought out. And the tools I had to solve your threat ranges and your Alpha Strike, were solved by, crit knockdown for 1 and Marauder slams for 2.
Yeah. I mean, just the amount of manipulation. I mean, maybe playing the book a little bit more aggressively would have helped.
Yep, I think so. I think I should have ran it turn 1 as opposed to just walking it and saying whatever I said. I think it was no spells.
I mean, for the interest of style points, I guess at this point, we assume that Reznik moved up to the flag and got a point, and then I have to also clear a zone or kill some heavies or whatever.
Yeah.
And because it's fun, Old Witch feats, boundless charges herself, charges in, kind of just underwhelms a little bit in melee. She missed her charge attack after re-rolling it, so still a miss. And rolls a bucket load of 5s and a dice minus 4, just doesn't do a ton of damage to the Crusader she charged. Leaves him alive on about a third of his boxes. She did allocate 2 to the Marauder with her feat ability, and she takes a gunshot at the book. This is another thing she's got available to herself, is just the notion of blinding the book every turn. So if you ran the book on the first turn, I might have gotten a little bit aggressive and tried for a blind play on it. Blind really restricts its position if it wants to use its abilities. And yeah, we activate the Kodiak, move in. It punches, does a bunch of damage, makes a second attack. I don't boost the second attack for the chain attack, grab and smash, because I've got a reroll on it from Witch's Feet. So I just fish for that 3, and I get it on the first crack. Chain attack, grab and smash, knocks down the Crusader, does a bucket load of damage, and we're at the point where the Uhlans are ready to charge. Crusader doesn't have a ton of boxes left.
You actually go with Markov first on this
Markov
Crusader.
goes first. My apologies. I charge him, so he's in a position to hit the Crusader, maybe knock it down, doesn't get the crit, and still repo back to the flag. He does an okay amount of damage, but instead of repoing back to the flag, I just repo him a little bit deeper because I would still be taking a free strike. I can always move the Kovnik back onto that flag. Markov, for style points, he bases Evan's flag. The Uhlans here, who are no longer tied up by the presence of the Crusader at all, who is knocked down, they charge the Devout, and a couple of them charge the Crusader. While we're playing this, Evan doesn't address defensive strike, but we actually roll it afterward, and I think it didn't kill one of the Uhlans.
Yeah.
They, however, just truck the Devout.
They two-shot it.
I think it's 4 6s in 6 dice, and they destroy the Devout. Are able to repo back into the zone, and the other ones kill the Crusader, so that's a point of the zone. I move the Iron Fang Kovnik over, I don't move the Iron Fang Kovnik over, instead I run Reinholdt up.
And then
that's
you charge me with the Kovnik.
And then for style points again, base the flag with the Kovnik, charge Reznik, and he's a POW 12 Weapon Master, so dice minus 6. He does a bunch of damage to Reznik. Reznik takes 11 points, which he reduces down to 6 with focus. And that just shows you how much hitting power this list is capable of. I killed heavy and a light, and did a bunch of damage to Reznik, and nearly killed another heavy. And I'm charging a fully loaded Marauder in at Scourge, and I think I leave Scourge on
About half.
About half. Now, obviously, I'm way overextended with Witch relative to where I'd be if I didn't know for sure I was winning the game this turn.
Correct.
But she's still, like, she has the capacity to just deliver a lot of performance for her army. And some mechanics run, just in case they need to repair things next turn. And they're in position to hang out in that zone. Scores 2 points. Goes to 6. 6-0 or 6-1 if Evan had based the flag. And that's the game.
Yep.
That's our episode.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, guys. A couple of things just before we cap off the video. Congratulations to Alex Nidek for winning our steppers. We're sending those out to him very shortly. If you want to win more stuff, we're going to have 2 more sets of steppers we're going to be giving away in the next couple videos. We'll have a variety of ways you can win those, so keep your eyes and ears out for those.
And if you have thoughts specifically on KHADOR, as I said, I mean, my assessment of KHADOR is just one person's opinion, but I've got a lot of very, very good friends who play the faction well. I've studied it for a very, very long period of time. I think it's in a very healthy place in the game right now, and I think it does fundamentally come down to 4 archetypes of list building. This is a kind of a twist on, but a featuring of one of them, and I'd like to feature the other 3. If folks are interested, let us know. If you're like, KHADOR, show me anything but this, that's fine feedback too.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Remember to follow us on all the social media, and we will see you next time.